Tripoli, Lebanon's second largest city, where we are meeting two activists and members of March, Lea Baroudi, the founder, and blogger Gino Raidy. In 2015, they staged a play putting together underprivileged youth from two opposing neighborhoods, Jabal al-Muhsin and Bib al-Tabbani. Since then, they created Ahwatna, a cultural cafe fully equipped with a recording studio and stage practices. The organization's purpose is on one hand to defend freedom of expression, and on the other hand to tackle conflict resolution through art therapy. How important are the arts for the youth today? Because it's not something that's talked about a lot in Lebanon.
No, and it's something that's kind of dismissed or not given its importance. Why I think it worked and it's so important, it is because art has no judgment, you know? Art is cathartic. Actually, what I realized is that, on the contrary, when you act, you tell the truth. These people have never been used to sharing things and being themselves as much as when they did this play.
Do you think also the fact that for once, you know, I read something once about how we're all the same in the sense that we all want to be heard. We all want somebody to see us and to hear us. You don't have to agree with us,
exactly,
but you hear us out. Do you think it was also the fact that
definitely,
for the first time, maybe in their lives, somebody was giving them the attention?
Oh, definitely.
And how much does that change?
That makes all the difference, because one of the reasons why they are so angry and they resort to violence is because they feel they are unheard. And so when, first of all, you put your trust in them, because we didn't just do a play for the sake of doing a play, humoring them and just, you know, to fix them, because it would be too condescending, and this is not how we work. I mean, we've never initially told these young men, we are here to reconcile you, you know, get reconciled. We never mentioned the word reconciliation, because that's something that is going to happen naturally and they're going to realize it. So what we did is that first we gave them responsibility, and we made them feel that we believed in them. And this was done because when we started
and that makes all the difference,
yes,
by the way.
Of course it does, right, because these people need someone to believe in them. And so when you start first bringing in, you know, very famous actors or directors such as Rita Hayek or Nadine Labake or Georges Khabbez or all of these, to give them advice and to do workshops. And, you know, when you tell them, you know, you have to pay attention because you're going to be on a red carpet event, you're going to perform in front of like so many hundreds of people, and it's going to be in the biggest theater in Beirut.
And some ministers are going to come
exactly.
and attend. Right.
And this is like, oh my God, you know, these people are putting their trust in us. We have a huge responsibility to do, and that makes the whole difference.
Who funds usually? UN, embassies,
yes,
you apply for grants?
Yes, we apply for grants. Everything we do, we apply for grants. You know, we develop a proposal which we believe is the best thing to do. I mean, we don't work in a way where, you know, grants or embassies tell us, we want to work on this, and we say, okay, yes, let's work on this.
No, this is what we want.
This is
Can
what
you
we
help
want?
us with
Can
this?
you help us? This
but
is
it's
the budget.
But it's an easy cause to get on board with.
Yes.
I mean, honestly.
Yes, but initially it wasn't. No one believed it would work, and no one believed, you know.
Because of the bad reputation of Tripoli, do you think that has something to do with it too?
Obviously what the media portrayed, but also I think initially no one realized how dangerous it is to keep these youth like that, you know, because at the end of the day they are being manipulated. Before the rise of, you know, extremist groups in that importance, these young men were manipulated by politicians or, you know, by local gangs or by the environment.
Right.
But when this came in, you know, the additional factor of having extremist groups come and recruit, this is where people start thinking, okay, oh my God, there is a problem here. These youth can't be left like that because they're being manipulated and very easily manipulated into doing
What I find interesting is that you said something that's very important, which is basically to make the unheard heard. And the gentleman sitting next to you, who we've heard of, every now and then we'll hear him talk, Gino Raidy. Specifically, what I notice about you is you're unfiltered in giving the voiceless voices. Always around youth, though. Youth is important to you. Why is it important to you?
First, because it's what I personally care about and what I personally face and experience. And second, it's because of how little the youth has actually given importance in this country. In every aspect, whether it's jobs, whether it's when they're able to vote, whether it's if they have a say or not in political parties, everything. And if you're young, if you're like below 60s, no one even hears out what you want, what you care about, what your concerns are, what your hopes and dreams are, or how the solutions to problems that maybe the octogenarian leaders of this country would have never even thought of. So I think that's why. And unfortunately, lots of the traditional media outlets don't let the youth's voices get heard.
Which is
at all.
odd if you think about it, because the youth are the drivers of change.
Well, if you think about it, I think it's reflecting in when it comes to ratings today. Most people who actually read newspapers and watch TVs are the older generation.
You've helped her with the cause because I think it speaks to you as well, March in general. And there's a part, as we said, which is youth empowerment. There's a part that has to do with censorship and freedom of expression. And I think that's the thing that has frustrated you the most, which is the reason why you probably joined March in the first place.
True.
What is it today that you're seeing through March, through your work with March, that has helped advance the cause?
I guess maybe the biggest impact March has had, I think, in Lebanon is actually cataloging everything that's banned. Most people, will get that DVD pirated or will stream it, and they'll never know that it's actually banned. So for us, the Museum of Censorship, the virtual one and the pop-up exhibits we do, is extremely important because a lot of the time the feedback we get from people is like, oh, this Charlie Chaplin movie is banned, oh, my dad has it, or this Frank Sinatra CD is, actually illegal in Lebanon, we didn't know that. So, and the censorship authorities in Lebanon are smart about that. They never put it on paper. They never release what's actually banned. So for us, the uphill battle is actually cataloging everything that's been banned.
How do you
which
find
is the
out
first
when it's
step.
banned?
Usually, it's easy. Like a movie, you can actually, we know this movie is supposed to come and it didn't. Other times, it's people tip us off and we actually try to verify the reason. Verify if it's actually banned, if it's still banned, if it was banned, censored
This
parts
past
of it.
Jan, you were able to get to a government official to talk about a movie that they wanted to ban, and we were able to reverse that, I think.
Yes.
In terms of that, why do you think censorship is still a big deal in a country like Lebanon? And this goes back to what you were saying about how modern and moderate we are, but we're not as free as we think we are.
We're not as free as we think we are. And why is, for me, censorship also very wrong? It's because since the civil war ended, we've decided that to end the civil war without a proper truth and reconciliation, and to put everything as taboo. If we don't want to fight, let's not talk about anything. And that's what has created this whole rise in sectarian tensions and in frustrations. And honestly, we believe that art is the best way to talk about these things. So it should not be censored, especially when we talk about sensitive issues.
Does it still bother you that everything here is political?
It bothers me because it's the wrong kind of politics. I'm not like the typical Lebanese, like, no, politics is bad, I don't want anything to do with it, because politics is the day-to-day stuff. So stuff like, I don't have internet, I don't have electricity, I get stuck in traffic. Politics is what fixes that. But unfortunately, Lebanon, we think politics is which former war chief went to which former war chief and what they got each other for gifts. So I think from what I try to write is remind people that politics is actually what you care about and how you can change it, not just...
If somebody comes to you and says, yeah, but Gino, this has been in place for 30, 40 years. Our voice isn't going to matter.
I think there's been many small victories in the past, maybe 10, 15 years. We're definitely not nearly where we'd like to be, but it's getting better, definitely. And everything, whether it's social stuff, political stuff, even economic stuff.
We talk about youth empowerment. We talk about, for the first time in a very long time, maybe for the first time ever in Lebanon, these elections, now that the laws have changed.
My first.
Yes, your first time voting, and I think a first time voting for a lot of people, including myself. Tell me a little bit about why you're calling out for the young people to go out and vote and have their voices heard.
Well, I guess this law is extremely complicated and untested, and we haven't had an election in 9 years. So even if it was the same law, anticipating people's behavior and how they'll vote, where they'll vote, and the whole geopolitical stuff happening too is extremely hard to predict, which has made people maybe become, it's always going to be the same, but it's not, because no one has any idea what's going to happen. But the narrative of, it's all going to be the same guys are going to, be voted in, help their narrative, because a lot of people now don't want to go vote because they think it's the absolute same, when there's a lot of chances for surprises in some places, or we're not sure. Alliances shifted. You have tens of thousands of voters who have never voted. We're not sure how they're going to vote.
So there are these lists, and some people may like a person on the list or not a person on the list, but it doesn't matter because you do have a preferential vote.
Which is like the secret clause that helps them maintain power, but it could be used against them too. So they've been forced to make unholy alliances together, which don't make sense and differ from district to district. So if list A gets 3 seats and the list has maybe 7 candidates, 4 of which I don't like, it's okay, vote for that list. We'd be using the partisan groups' votes to actually get the threshold and hopefully get the candidate we want to see, a candidate that's actually good for the country, reach there, using the votes of the partisans, the way they've engineered this law to ensure that they stay. But I think they're going to ensure, not the entire majority that they have now, most of it. I think there'll be a couple of surprises.
And why shouldn't we vote blank?
Because the blank raises the threshold. And when the threshold raises means smaller groups have less chance of actually getting voted in.
So it helps the people
Of
in
course.
power to stay in power.
It's a new law, it's an untried law, new districts, new everything. So just sitting at home and complaining about it isn't going to help. The fact that maybe 1 MP, 2 MPs, 5 MPs can do a difference here. We're definitely not going to be the majority from the first elections. But a couple of elections later, we will most probably, I think, become the biggest parliamentary bloc here.
Yeah, and because also of the proportionality aspect. I mean, before, if there's like people who got 51% of the votes, they get all the seats. Today, it depends on, if you get 40% of the votes and there's like, so you get 40% of the seats. So even if you get if you pass the threshold and you get, 10%, you can get a seat.
It's not an overnight change, but we're getting there, is what you're saying.
Yes.
And it's really interesting because we were talking about voting and youth empowerment and the cause of March. And the big purpose is working with marginalized youth in order to get them involved in everyday life. But you need politics also to do that. So how does that work? How do you blend the two when politics is such a negative factor?
Although we do not talk about politicians and give them our opinion on their politicians, because we know that each one of them has their own mind and maybe follows a certain politician, and it's not up to them to tell us if it's right or wrong. It's up to them to tell us that you should hold them accountable. You should check that whatever he's giving you today, that it is your right because he's an employee of the government and therefore you are paying him to be there. And also we encourage them to vote without telling them who to vote for, because again, we're not here to tell them what to do, we're just here to give them the tools to say, okay, raise your voice and have a say. And so even we give here in the cafe, we gave electoral simulation campaigns, we explained to them exactly what the law says, how the law works, and told them, go out and vote.
Just as long as you're voting. But
you're voting.
But be a citizen.
Turnout is a main problem in Lebanon. The people that actually will go vote are the ones that are already partisan. But the people that aren't will maybe want to, no, I had a tough night last night, I'd rather not go to my town at the end of the world to go vote. But if turnout is higher, definitely independents are going to win. If turnout is low, nothing's going to change. So the fact, giving up and saying no isn't going to help. Go try it out. It's a nice experience, and I think most of the youth has never had that experience yet, maybe in the municipal elections. So actually being part of it is cool enough. I know it's fun to go see how it
But
actually
there's something
happens.
also called silent majority. Why do we call people who haven't silent majority? It's because there are many people who haven't spoken up. Go speak up. Let's see what your opinion is.
There's nothing to lose.
There's nothing to lose, and there's a lot to gain. I know you have a love-hate relationship with this place, and there are other dream cities that you like to go to and stay. But if you were to name a few things about this place that you could not find anywhere else.
Well, I'm gonna see my town, definitely, Hell of Eden.
All right.
There's nowhere that compares personally to me.
It's beautiful.
Would much rather be in Eden anytime, especially in summer. Another good thing you like, and I think everyone does, is the clubbing and the party scene in Lebanon. It's a really nice one.
I can't believe you just said that.
Where it's,
I can't believe you just said that.
It's more than
Like
just...
name 3 positive things about Lebanon. Clubbing.
It's more than just, getting drunk and dancing. It's the culture around it too, the acceptance, the tolerance, no matter what your sect is, what your orientation,
You
what
know
your
half
gender
these
is.
people are drunk when they're doing that, right?
But that's a great place for them to actually
that's
come,
where we
because
should
you'll
all-
never find them together in another circumstance. So I like the culture that surrounds it too.
Yeah, okay. Give us a third one.
The people, I guess. I like the people here. I'm not going to say anything good about the government or the institutions or
We
the
don't
history,
expect you to.
but it's the people, definitely. I've met so many awesome Lebanese people doing awesome Lebanese
You've met
stuff.
people everywhere, so how do the Lebanese compare?
Well, even when I'm abroad, I meet Lebanese people doing cool stuff, which is the highlight usually of my trips there. I'm like, wow, I like this place. This Lebanese guy or Lebanese woman doing this project there.
So long term, what are you marching towards?
Well, what we dream of is that all of these young people that we're working with, whether it's in Tripoli, in Akkar, in Beirut, that they also start connecting with each other, because now today the young people in Akkar or in Beirut have also met these young men and women in Tripoli and vice versa, and have started working together, because this is something that doesn't exist right now. Our generations, the young generation is not even connected to each other, and the whole idea is to get them to all know each other, enrich each other, and help each other.
And you have other problematic towns in Lebanon.
Yes. Oh yes.
Could you do an ahwitna somewhere there? Like, is this something, an idea that you think of expanding?
We actually did.
We're doing
Where?
several places.
Well, guys, give me the juice.
Well, actually,
scoops.
opening in a few weeks in Beirut.
Okay.
In Beirut. It's the result of another project that we did last year. It was a play that was called Huna Beirut, and that grouped young men and women from Tariq Jdide, from Khanda El Ghami, from Sabra, from Medina Riyadiyeh, from all of the Burj Al Haidar, from all of the areas of Beirut.
Power to the people is power to the youth. And as Lea tells me, belief is contagious. Belief in oneself, belief in others, and their ability to be better than what their past dictates, and create a path worth marching forward to. If you like this episode of Y Chats and want to see more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click, click, click!